Hello to everyone out there and to all of my followers. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Happy. I am the crafty chemist, and I've been doing a little bit of experimenting because I am a chemist, and that's one thing that chemists do. And so I decided to get started on the fall and Halloween coloring and show some of the experiments that I have been running, along with some of the materials I've been using and some plans for the rest of the month for coloring pages. It is fall break, which means that I have a couple of days off of work and I am back. No more traveling this month, no more traveling until next month. So to start with, these are experimental pages. I have a page in 50 Autumn Miniatures, and I did this one with Crayola products when I was in a hotel, and I found this set of markers. You can see the price here was $3.97. This was at Joann's. And I used as many of the browns as I could. I actually am always looking for browns, so I was pretty excited about this. All of the browns and various colors, including this. Actually, this was done with another thing I found at Joann's, which was the Colors of Kindness. I didn't pay very much for this, like maybe $1 or $2 for that. And I also picked up some pastel crayons. I think those were like $3. These were on sale for like $2. And then, oh, this is in my office. I absolutely love Crayola products, have since I was a kid, and I hadn't played with any of them for a long time. So it was really cool to run across some of these things that I could add to what I have. I did think that, and I've noticed this in another book, that this paper anyway, and a paper from a Cocowayo book, which I'm sure is Amazon paper, when you color with the markers on there, it is a little bit, it roughens up the paper a little bit, and they don't blend all that well. I've also had problems with them leaking through, and I didn't have anything with me, so I kind of bought like a 50-cent piece of like scrapbook paper to try to keep it from getting onto the page behind it, and it did. So I'm going to be keeping this page out, or this book out, because there's other things in here I want to color anyway. This kitty and pumpkin page here, and these are not difficult pages to color, so they are very relaxing to color. But I did try that with Crayola crayons. I'm going to take that marker, I don't even know what I did with it, out of there so that I know that I have shared this page, and I'll keep a thing on it. But I'll put this back into my pile of things to color for Halloween. So this is another experimental page that I was doing, and I bought a couple months ago some walnut oil to use with blending oil pastels. And I had seen that mineral spirits worked on crayons, and some people had used baby oil. So I tried using some of that on the crayons here, and it just really just made it shiny. It didn't really blend them. It maybe kind of made it go into the paper more, but you can also see it came through the paper. And I used not the baby oil, but the walnut oil a number of times on here and had that same problem. So I'm going to put that aside and try it out with some oil pastels later. But I bought a box of, I bought these Art Philosophy oil pastels that are water soluble, and I had been looking for a second set of water soluble oil pastels because these are pretty, but they're like earthy tone kind of things, and I like that, I do, but it doesn't work for everything. And I had been looking for others, and I found these on Blick, and so I got these off of Blick, and I do like them better than the Art Philosophy because these are softer. Some of the Art Philosophy seemed a little scratchy, and there's 24 colors in here, so I did get it comes with like one of these things as all primaries, And then the other one has some other like just additional tertiary colors and some nice dark colors, which I'm excited about. And so I was playing with these to see what kinds of effects I could get. And so let's see, I used the distressed crayon out of here, oh no, I'm sorry, not distressed crayon. I don't even know if I used one of these out of here. Oh, I did. So here's the portfolio attempt. This does feel a little bit like a buildup of waxy, almost stickiness to it. And so I colored on here with the blue-green color from the portfolio. And I put water on it up at the top. And then down here, I used a little bit of the walnut oil. And then I used an eraser over it to see if I could erase it. Then I used a brush for, like putting on, people use the Caran d'Ache palette and put the waxy or the gel crayons on here and use the brush and take it off. And so that's what I did with 3 different kinds of brushes. One was a stencil brush. I only used the stencil brush, I think twice. I used it here and I used it here because I didn't really like how it was working. It wasn't as smooth of a color application with the stencil brush. And then I used the makeup brush on this one and just a colored handle brush here. And I erased part of it, and you can see that it actually erased pretty well. And then I used water and made a streak of water across here to see how that would affect things. And I used a streak of the walnut oil as well. So that was the portfolio. And then it worked pretty similarly to some other things. So this is a Tim Holtz Distress Crayon. And I think I was using this bluish colored one. Yeah, I found this at Joann's as well. I think this was on clearance for like $1. So that was a steal. I was glad I found it. They do have a little bit of a shimmer to it that really only shows up in the water spots, and it's kind of worn off of it. But this seems like it was like a Christmas packet because it's like shiny bubble, cocktail party, and merriment. So it seems like it was some sort of a holiday kind of set. I've never had any Tim Holtz distressed crayons before, and it works very similarly to these water-soluble oil pastels and some other gel crayons that I have. So same process. I scribbled some on here. I put some water on it. I put some oil on it. The oil did move it around. You can see that it does move things around, but again, it leaves an oily mark back here. And then this was the stencil brush. This was the makeup brush. And this was my just colored handle brush. It looks like one of the makeup brushes, but it's got white bristles on it. And I streaked water across there on the top of all those, then oil here, and then an eraser here across this part. And I think, well, the makeup brush was dirty with probably some chalk because I've used these with chalk pastels before. But actually, again, liked the colored handle brush the best. And I also tried the art philosophy ones. This is the art philosophy. And they have kind of like the portfolio, they have a thicker consistency. The colors are very similar, even though this one's a little more green, this one's a little bit more blue, and these guys are kind of in between. And I ran the eraser through there this way, and you put water and oil on there, and then you can't even tell with the art philosophy ones where I streaked the water and oil on here. So that's interesting, because it did do it like the others, but I can't even tell where I did it. So that's a good bit of information to know. And then lastly, I used these Happy Dough or Happy Do watercolor gel crayons. They're children's watercolors. This is a woman-owned company. I saw that when I was looking on here. They're designed in the US, made in China, and it says that it works on most paper types. They won't dry out, they twist up, they're water soluble, and they're washable. So I played with that as well, and I put that one here, and it does dry down. It doesn't have the waxy, sticky kind of feel that the water soluble oil crayons do. So that isn't there. I did put the oil on here. It did move it around, but again, you could see the oil came through, so I'm not sure I'd want to continue doing that. And then this is with the water. That's with the eraser. And then this is a streak of water here on each of these. This was the stencil brush. This is the makeup brush. This is just the blue-handled brush that I bought off of Amazon. And then there's a streak of oil on each of these that didn't really do much. And then this one erased really well. I think it erased as good as this one did, as good as the portfolios did. So those two both erased really, really well. So I just did that experimenting with it. And then I colored, go ahead and pull this out since I'm talking about the other stuff. I colored a page in Coloring Heaven Unicorn Special, and I colored this Ghastly Sparkle with it. I used the watercolor crayons almost exclusively on here. It's a lot brighter than I anticipated. I did try a little bit of the neon Crayola on here over the top of some of the watercolor crayon, and it didn't work very well. There's only a little bit of color transferred onto there, so it had like a neon sparkle to it, but I kind of liked the effect on the unicorn's horn. And I also painted a little bit of it on there by, you can see my colors are still on my Caran d'Ache palette. So there's the purple and the black, and the green is actually down in the hooves, and I covered that up a little bit. So this actually has a dark green color to it. And then in the eye, I used a little bit of colored pencil, then a little bit of the watercolor crayon, and over the top with some acrylic paint pen to give it eyelashes. It kind of had a weird eyelash pattern, and since the unicorn, I made it black, I needed to have something that would show up the black here. So this also has some very old Crayola colored pencils that I've had forever. I used the silver color for the sparkle in the background. And let's see, where did I put oh, they're sitting right here next to me. So yeah, here's the box of colored pencils that I have had for a long time. And I don't know, it has a 1996 copyright on here, which I could have got these in about 1996. I haven't used them all that much, and so I've been just playing with Crayola crayons and Crayola products a lot this month. So that one in Unicorn Special. I thought it was kind of Halloweenish because of the skull on the booty. All right, one of my challenges for myself for this month was to color a page using entirely Crayola products, and the other was to color a page using entirely acrylic markers. And so I did the first page I've done out of Tessellation Patterns coloring book. These are all very busy designs. I bought this for use in my class, and so the page that I did is this one here, and I decided not to color the entire thing in because it's already so busy and I just didn't want it to be any busier. And you can see I used a metallic color for the swirly part here. It's a green metallic pen from Archer and Olive. Actually, most of this is Archer and Olive. The other one is like Tuliart. So this, I think this is Tuliart, and then all the rest is Archer and Olive. I have a lot of them and I hardly ever use them. So this was a good excuse to get this out. I do like how it turned out in the shininess of that green metallic paint pen. And I did play around. I actually intended for all of these boxes to be like this one. And then I messed up over here and I was like, well, let me see what it looks like if I just make this whole row solid green box. And then I decided just to leave these not solid green and just do the inside and then do the outside like I intended over here, just to give some variety to the overall look of things. So even though it's not 100% colored in my opinion, it is done. And I wouldn't want to add anything else to it because it is already so busy. And you can see that all of these pages in here are very, very busy. And so I may be doing some more things like that with filling a bunch of stuff in as black. I only have Archer and Olive and a small thing of pastel Tule art pens that are acrylic pens. And so I wouldn't want to go overboard doing something like a bunch of black because I just don't have a lot of black paint. And I guess I should try to use those pens more for the Archer and Olive because they're quite expensive as far as pens go. So that was Tessellation Patterns coloring book. It's a John Wink book. I have a couple tessellation pattern books that I use for crystal structures in my chemistry classes. All right, the next thing I did is another experimental page. And it's awful, but it's an experiment, and I do a lot of experimenting in this book. Because the pictures it's minimalist boho, they're all desert scenes. I like this book, but it gives me a good chance to just experiment. And so what I did for this one, and I saw it on an art channel that I follow, and I don't even remember the name of it, but I bought this Quick Sticks solid tempera paint. I got all 60 colors just cause. And yeah, just cause. I'd have another page that is further down in the pile that is an experimental page as well. Yeah, it's towards the bottom. And I did it mostly with these sticks. Somebody used it in mixed media art. I think it might be like Helen Cryer. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I'm pretty much I'm into mixed media, but let's just face it, I'm more into coloring than I am to actually doing art. And so I need to find ways to use these. I think it'll be good for doing full backgrounds. So these are pretty bright colors. Somebody's car alarm is going off. But this is a metallic one. Excuse me, it's not our car, so I don't know whose it is. This is a metallic one. I like that. I think that looks really neat. It's super shiny. I think it'd be a lot of fun to use for filling in large backgrounds. And then everything else, like I said, is that, with the exception of a little bit of the Thule art paint pens over this, just I was playing around, trying to see what I could do. So it's not very opaque. That's one thing that I was mistaken in thinking. I thought that this would be able to cover up a lot of things. And it may be because it is the Quick Sticks. I don't know. There's several brands of these tempera paint things. It did dry very quickly, and I accidentally smeared some of the acrylic paint on this corner here, but I can see a lot of potential. I need to make sure I use it. I feel kind of bad about having things in plastic containers if I'm not using it a lot, but it doesn't go through. It dries in 90 seconds and it does give a good layer. Now, you can't put a lot more over it, so I need to play around with that some more. I want to play around with trying to put oil pastels over this, or I tried doing colored pencil, I think, on here. It didn't work out so well. Then I forget what else I put on there, but I was playing around a little bit. I did do the acrylic paint pen here as well, and it does go over that. So maybe this could be good for large areas to color in that I don't need to add a lot of things to, because shading was not easy. I think I tried to use colored pencil here, and you know, it's even coming off. It didn't work very well. So this was black, and I colored over it with the Tempera Paint Quick Stick, and you can see it doesn't cover up the lines entirely, so then I just colored over it with the acrylic paint pen. So another experimental page that I've done in the last couple of days. Now, here we have some pages that I started, or that I did, and I created a disaster. So we'll start with the page that I did that created the disaster, and that is this 2-page here. And the disaster part was the watercolor that I used in the background. And to give an example, this is what it did. And I've had, well, I just know that this cannot take the water. So the rest of it is colored pencil, and I didn't put a, oh, I did put a date. It is the 3rd of October I did this, and I'm not sure what colored pencils I was using over the top of it. I did a lot of painting on it. I did some gouache on here as well. So I did some gouache over her face. And it didn't come through. But I'm trying to remember what I did on the kitty, because I know I painted the kitty and then I put the other stuff over the top. And then whatever I used here, you could see, I think it was also gouache. It got a little bit of blue down there on its face. But that could also have been because I haven't fixed this page yet. So I probably will use a bunch of gouache. Maybe I can use some tempera stick and make the whole background a consistently pink thing, and then use the gouache and the flowers. Maybe I can use oil pastel, but this page was entirely purple like the other one, and this is how I fixed it. So this does also have gouache on the background. I tried to create a gradient. It didn't work out so well. So then I also used oil pastel over the top of that. And then I colored over all of this with colored pencils. They look pretty bright. I think I may have been using Brute Funer's. I think I was using Brute Funer Square on there. I was probably using it here as well. I think that's right. I think this is Brute Funer Square. And then this one here. Now you can still see there's a shadow on her face. And this isn't exactly the way I had ever planned to color this page, but it is done now. And the oil pastels kind of made a chunky surface on there. Didn't cover everything up really well, even though I tried to spread it out. So there's problems with it, but it's colored. I do actually like overall, like how I did this weird cat and the bunnies and stuff. And I had to do something with it because it was a disaster after this page. And I still need to work on this one, and I probably will do something purplish for the background of this one as well, so that it kind of covers up that. And I think that's the end of the disaster pages. So there's 2 more pages that I'll need to work on. This one's not really giving me creepy. It gives me just the cute. So, oh, and looks like a little bit of color got on this octopus page. This was a little more creepy with the skulls. So I probably will keep this one out and available to work on as well. All right, so let's go into this so that we're getting more of the experimental pages out of the way. In 50 Halloween Miniatures, this is entirely Crayola crayons, and it's entirely old Crayola crayons. And I have a video of those that I'll put in here. I've been playing with Crayola this month, and I have this really old rose art case that I took the rose art crayons out of many years ago, and I put my Crayola in here. And I noticed, slippery, sorry, that the copper crayon has turned, see if I can get it to focus on this. There we go. This is copper, and it's turned completely green. I'm sure that the paper on it was a different color once upon a time. I noticed that gold is also greenish colored. So I was wondering if there was actually copper, real copper in both of these. And I'm curious as to what it'll look like now. Now the silver is still silver. You can see I used these. They have a great smell. They make my drawer have a nice smell all the time. So I was getting them out to actually play with them. It's been years since they've been out of the drawer. Many of the papers have faded on them. I do have a newer box, but it's still many years old. I wonder if any of the other colors have shifted from many years ago. I'm very curious about that copper and gold. I taped one of them together after I broke it. It was probably heartbreaking for me. Pine green. Don't know what colors things are. Let's see if I can. It doesn't have like a year on any of these. Goldenrod. Yeah, it just says made in the USA. Yellow. But this one's, oh, that one's got I was thinking that one had a name on it that would no longer be used, but it's apricot and peach. That great color. So I may do a little swatching with some of these and see what happens when I play with them. And I did not get to trying out that copper crayon, so I will do that, and I'll have to get back with everybody on what happens with that copper crayon, and I probably will insert that video in here as well. So I've come back with my gold and my copper crayon from my pre-1990 Crayola crayons thing. And it turns out that in 1994 they changed the formulation of these two crayons so that they would not turn green anymore, because these did contain real copper and the copper oxidized in them. So I'm just, oh, look at that. That is a flipping pretty color. And it is oxidized pretty much all the way through. Oh, there I'm starting to get some actual unoxidized color. But, oh my gosh, that is stinking pretty. I would take this color crayon. So funny. All right, so yeah, that one's the copper. The copper contained and the copper and the gold contained bronze powder. So this one doesn't have quite as much of the copper in it. It may have had more of a tin. You can actually coat a penny in zinc and heat it up and it'll turn, it looks like a gold color, so it's probably what was used in here to make the gold. Wow, that's so fun. So that's what it looks like with these pre-1990 crayons when you have let them sit for a long time, and it's very humid here, so not only will the wax and acids in the crayon do this just to it, but the added humidity just makes it oxidize just like a copper statue would. With this one, I got some new oil pastels, and I really need to try to do some fixing on this. I bought a couple of sets of, oh, that came right off. That was good. I'm glad I tried that. So I bought things at Blick, and so I bought those quick sticks at Blick. They were on sale, cheaper than they were on Amazon. And I can just scrape as much of that off as possible. I'm gonna do that. In addition to buying those, I also bought two sets of Sennelier oil pastels, and oh, let me tell you, they are so soft. I'm going to have to spray this page to seal it, because those things are like the softest things I have ever used, and I actually don't think I like it. They're that soft. So the Senneliers are here, 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 here. The nose, the eyes, the hats were all Sennelier. And then I used the portfolio, the brown and the gray, and I didn't have a color that I could use for the little mouse with what I was using, so I just did the little mouse. I also bought some Pentel cheapy things. They were like $2 for the metallics, and so this moon is metallic. And then I also added to it that silver color from the tempera paint sticks. As you can see, the page that I did on the other side of here, like there's transfer of these oil pastels to the back of this page. And when I was coloring that page, I had this in between. It transferred here. It smushed the doggy's nose all around. So I'm not sure I'm going to be a really big fan of the Sennelier oil pastels. I was super excited to try them, but I think they just might be a little bit softer than what I want to use them for. So I will have to keep playing around with them. Oh, that's 2 pages that I did in here. And I also did this one entirely with tempera sticks and a little bit of colored pencil to like brighten up the brown in there. And it got a little messy up here, but these guys are cute, and I just wanted to see if I could do an entire page with the tempera sticks, and so I did, and it is very well set on here. It doesn't have much of a surface, like it doesn't have any kind of bumps or anything, except for where it got a little thick on the fingernail here and a little thick on the horn there. But I was pretty happy with it. It doesn't bleed through, and so I will have to hold out this book and color a few more Halloween miniatures, just fun things. Maybe I'll do some more experimenting. All right, the last 2 are not experimenting, so they are actually just pages where I wanted to do something that was nice. And so in Fairy Stories Special, I picked out a couple of things that I thought would work for fall, and I did do just one of them. I did it early in the month, so this was October 6th, and I did the Snow White page, and I decided to make the trees have orangish leaves, and the others are starting to turn, but you can only really get apples in the fall, and so I figured that the witch would be giving Snow White the apple in the fall. And Snow White's colors are like yellows, blues, and reds, and she has very pale skin, and so I did this page, and I'm pretty sure this was with Brute Funeral Squares. I think that's what I had sitting down there with me for a little while. I didn't write it down. I should maybe start writing these things down. But I'm actually quite happy with how it came out. I also based this with Inktense. I love using Inktense in this book. And I really like the Coloring Heaven paper. So even though it does come through on the back a little bit, it's not real bad, and the page below is completely safe. So I have only colored 2 pages in here. Last year I did a Cinderella page with these pumpkins on it, so I did that in August. So it's been a full year since I've colored anything else in here. I think it has Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, and Pinocchio. Oh, and Peter Pan. So maybe, oh, and Hansel and Gretel. Well, that's more than I thought was in here. Maybe I should do a few more of these pages. They're cute. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more fairies, not fairy tales. But that's okay. I really do like it. And I will keep coloring some more in here. Just probably not this month. And maybe not fall. Maybe this is more of a winter thing. Fairy stories. I don't know. And the last page that I want to share for right now is the first page I've colored in Color in Heaven Dark Arts. And I did use a lot of gouache with this. And I've colored Frankenstein's creature. And I colored it mostly in September, but I finished it on October 1st. And the last video I made was actually midway through September, and I started doing some fall stuff. So I have to say, I tried a lot of things on here, and I am really pleased with how all of it turned out. I did a gouache layer for the skin and gouache for the background and gouache over all of the lightning bolts coming off of him. And then I used a variety of colored pencils for everything else. There's a little bit of Derwent ink tints in a couple of spots on here. This is one of them here. And I think down here I used a really bright yellow green color. And I just really like this page. I tried to make it creepy and kind of realistic looking and sci-fi looking, and I worked really hard on this, and I'm so proud of it. This is mostly gouache in the background. It is mostly gouache with colored pencil over the top, and you can see that none of the colors really came through. I mean, a little bit here. It must have gotten too wet, but this is my first page done here in this Dark Arts book. I got it a year ago, and I had to wait until November, so by the time I got it, it was a Christmassy season, and I wasn't feeling the dark arts nature of all of this. Just wasn't feeling it anymore. So I do still have a ton that I can color in here, because this has 48 designs. I've colored 1, and I really took my time on it, and I spent a lot of time doing it. So that's the end of the coloring pages that have been completed for this first part of October. I do have plans for a few more. I have a whip in A Million Baby Animals that might wait until next month, because it is a fall kind of page. I think it's the first one here. Yeah, all I've done is get started on these little hamster guys. So I have 4 marked in here. I don't know why. Oh, no, it's not that one. I was like, I don't know why that's marked. I have that one marked. I've done it in a video before. I have this one marked. Somebody had pandas for this month. I may not get to this month, but that's the only panda in this book. And then I have this one marked, but I really like a lot of these in here. And so if I don't get to coloring them all this month, I know this book is going to pop back out soon, and it may be just something that is more for fall. I do have another page in Tales from the Witch's Cottage marked. Actually, it looks like I have 2 that I'd like to do. Oh, I remember. These are just possibilities. So the Witch's Wand is a possibility, and the other one is the Witch on the Broom. So I could do both of these very Halloween colored. I did do one earlier this year in my last video. Where is she? I thought it was in this one. Maybe it wasn't. No, I guess it wasn't in this book. It must have been in another one. So I haven't colored in this one this season, so I need to keep this out to color in. And then in this, I can't remember what it's called, like 4 Seasons cat book, I picked one that I'd like to color. It's this trick-or-treating one. And Enchanted Animals, another Coloring Heaven book. I'd like to try to also color this one. If I don't get to it this time, it's okay. I know I'll come back to this book a lot. In Coloring Heaven, Starry Night Special, I've only colored a couple pages in here, and so I have Vasilisa and Baba Yaga picked out, and then also Little Red Riding Hood. In Story of Precious Cats, I have this trick-or-treating page picked out. I think it's like stupidly cute, and so I'd like to try to do this one. There's a lot of good fall stuff in here, but I want to try to get one colored in here this month. In this book, Kingdom of Curious Creatures, I have picked out, it's dinner time, but I've picked out this one, and I want to do it with a vintage color scheme. In Worlds of Wonder, I want to do some more experimenting and turn this into a spooky Halloween village. And in the Occult and Folklore coloring book, I want to do the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern wallpaper one. I also have another one marked back here with bats on it, but that may be next year. And I want to just kind of like make a point of coloring something in this maybe every month. That would be fun. So that's what I have so far and the plans I have for the rest of the month. Thanks for watching. Maybe leave a comment if there's any of those pages that you're interested in coloring yourselves. I enjoy watching your videos. I've spent all day watching videos. And until next time, happy coloring!